So I'm Vincent. I was working on Heartworm by myself for a number of years, and then when I got a publisher, I brought on some other people to help me, and that is one of them is Yves.
Hi, I'm Yves, he, him. I'm the cinematics director for Heartworm, so I've done a lot of cutscenes, I've done a lot of some of the animations, the boss fight, or some of the boss fight designs, and just general here and there whenever I'm needed. Vincent rescued me from unemployment, so I'm forever thankful for him.
I don't even know if I really believe it myself. I started on message boards and I ended up in a chat room talking.
I started it probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was late 2019. It was like just a hobby for me. It ramped up over time. Now it's my full-time thing, and a couple other members of our team. It's also full-time for them. I love the original Resident Evil, the original Silent Hill. And just like that whole era. So, I grew up playing those games, and that was formative time for me. Our game is a little more visually, complex than those were, but I think there is a lot of ability to feel fear in our imagination.
What's going on
by
here?
Not having such like a high fidelity asset for everything, letting your imagination fill in the gaps with all of the kind of low poly, low resolution textures, all that stuff.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
A lot of inspiration too comes from outside of video games for me. I love horror movies. I think we all love horror movies on the team. With fixed camera angles specifically, it's very hard to not think about movies when I'm trying to frame a shot or come up with a way to stage an environment or something.
To kind of match the era, we wanted to do a lot of color in a lot of the game because we feel like a lot of horror games kind of are desaturated. So a lot of Giallo films were a big inspiration because it's so rich. It's really putting a new spin on horror, and I think it's a very rich vein to dig into. So a lot of the cutscenes and cinematics are kind of focusing on that kind of off-kilter, dreamlike state, while also trying to focus on keeping the main character grounded in the reality of what's happening. So we love I think it's Argento is one of the biggest ones in Giallo.
Camera design, and as far as the environments go, Halloween, the original Halloween, I really like really wide or shots that kind of focus on something, but then in the background there's something else that might catch your eye. Kurosawa, Pulse is a huge inspiration. A lot of books and photography I feel are very inspirational for the game too. Photography-wise, Gregory Crutzen is one I bring up a lot. He does a lot of really elaborate suburban staging for photographs, and they're always kind of surreal, and that's a lot of the visual inspiration for me comes from that. I haven't written a game before, so I'm still kind of I'm trying to figure out the exact style I want for this, but it very much focuses on the character, and the character Sam, and she's going through the grieving process, and I wanted to explore that in a way that's not so explicit. We're not telling you how she's feeling or telling you what she's going through, and trying to write it through the environment. So it's a lot of ambient storytelling. It's kind of how I'm trying to show things rather than explicitly. I'm drawing from a lot of personal experiences, and I think the fault that I feel in games where it kind of falls flat is when it's trying to appeal too widely to everyone. And if you think about this as this character's experience and their story and their means of dealing with the things that they've gone through, I'm not trying to make some broader statement and wrap everything together for everyone to be happy with. I know it's not going to appeal to everyone, but I hope that it feels authentic, I guess is what I'm really trying to go for. There are multiple endings planned right now. How many is kind of based on how much time we end up having towards the end of development. The canon endings are going to be the different ways that the player can kind of come to terms with what they've gone through. I want to choose them for the player in a way that reflects how they played the game. Because it is a universal thing that people deal with, grief and the process of grieving, there are so many different ways that you can kind of come out of that process.
Many people go through these experiences, and there's no wrong way of dealing with it. It's just how you feel in the moment. So Sam's journey throughout the whole game is the choices she makes are going to definitely reflect how someone might approach a lot of situations, and it can spiral into really bad things, or you can kind of see yourself out of it, but ultimately these are real things people experience and real ways people deal with it. And that's not to say there's a good or bad choice, but
right,
it's more
Yeah, we definitely don't want to say good or bad ending, because it's really not, it's not either of those. It's just ending. So that's the,
natural conclusions that anybody could kind of come across in their, experience with this kind of feeling.
Yeah. what do we want players to feel?
We definitely want people who've gone through this experience to kind of relate to it and ultimately kind of see interesting ways they can approach it or even get out of these situations. And then for people who haven't gone through it, we definitely want to provide like a level of understanding as to what someone might go through.
There's no right or wrong way to grieve. It just is. I definitely don't want people to think we're implying that anything should be different for these people that are playing. Like, their experience is their experience. We just want people to be able to connect to the character and in whatever way that is for them, I guess, is my really roundabout way of saying. That's first, like, Dread is amazing. We've had a really, really fantastic time working with them, and they support us in so many ways. So, like, that has been huge. The renaissance of horror as a whole, the more the merrier in my mind, and I hope it continues. I'm glad people can connect to it. I think it's such a wide genre as far as just like what you can portray with it, that I think it has a lot of untapped potential still to this day. So yeah.
We're revisiting our childhoods and kind of taking what we thought was really interesting and expanding upon it and kind of giving it new life. And we're hoping that like by people playing this game and similar games like it, they can go back and appreciate the classics. This is a good way of exploring what made that genre so interesting and like so relevant to us that we're still thinking about it like 20 years later and being like, wow, this is something we really want to capture the feeling again, the magic of it again, essentially.
People seem really, really interested, and they seem to like it so far, and it's awesome. I'm glad we're here, because when we're sitting at home just like working on it, I'm like, is this even good anymore, you know? But like,
staring at it so long, you're like, oh, what are we doing?
A lot of positive feedback, and yeah, it's been really good.
Please wish list it. It
Yeah,
really helps.
wish listing is really, really important. I know everybody says that all the time, but like it really helps us. Not a lot of people know about our game, and yeah, we want people to.